their offensive line was just brutal.
Especially that left tackle
and then Jay
spot.
Cutler's leadership skills are really a question, because you're going to sit there and get on your offensive line for not playing well, and you're going to yell at him and bump him and get all tough with him. But then when Brandon Marshall drops a dime piece in the end zone, you smile with him and laugh with him. I mean, you got to treat these guys the same.
Yeah,
Brandon Marshall or your left tackle.
It's actually funny because that was one of the things that I felt like we had to bring up when talking about this game, because I think that's sort of the biggest talk about this game is how Jay Cutler presented himself as a leader last night. And, I understand it. You saw Rodgers yell at James Jones for messing up on running his route, but he didn't touch him. Didn't put a finger on the guy, just yelled at him, told him you can't do that to me because then I throw a pick. But you see Jay Cutler come over to the sideline and literally shove his offensive lineman. Like, look, dude, I get that you're a competitive
guy. He got
guy.
sacked 7 times, though. It got to be a point where he was probably just tired of getting hit.
Yeah, but let's be serious here. You think as an offensive lineman you're going to respond in a positive way to your quarterback shoving you? Or are you going to sit there and be like, oh, Clay Matthews, I missed the block this time. Go rock my quarterback. I mean, I'm just saying.
The point is you can get on these guys and you can get after them like Rodgers got after Jones, but I can almost guarantee you, Aaron Rodgers doesn't throw late-game picks. I mean, that just doesn't happen.
No.
So I guarantee you, he got on him. He was angry. It's not something he's used to. And on the sideline, they had a nice conversation about it. I'm sure they talked about it. Hey, man, listen, I'm sorry I got on you so much. Hey, listen, I'm sorry I didn't come back and make the play. You saw a lot of that last night from both teams. Mostly the Bears, the receivers weren't coming back on bad throws and playing defense. They were just kind of giving up,
Yeah, and you know what?
It seemed like the Bears were ready to play the game.
That, and you could see the aggravation in them. You could see that when things weren't going for them, the more and more frustrated they were getting. And to me, that's when you really find out what kind of team you are. When things don't go the way you want them to go, how do you respond? Green Bay couldn't get anything to go the way they wanted it to go, and they respond with a fake field goal that works out for a touchdown. Like, that is, to me, the determining factor of, a really good team and a team that has talent but can't show up. Like, look at it like this, in my opinion. Being a Cowboy fan, okay? Dallas can look as good as they want throughout the year. Big whoop, they beat the Giants in week 1. But the simple fact of the matter is, when things are going bad and how they constantly let games snowball in a negative way for them towards the end of the year, I feel like they have this pity party for themselves and say, oh, nothing's going to work for us. And then they collapse at the end of the year when it matters the most. Where you compare that to, look at the Giants from last year, where things don't go their way all year long. All year long. And then with 2 games left in the season, they turn up a notch. They beat the Jets. They beat the Cowboys, 2 teams fighting for playoff spots, and then go win 4 straight games to win the Super Bowl. That's the difference in great teams and teams with a lot of talent that can't play great. And you saw that in last night's game with Chicago and Green Bay.
Yeah, when you touch on the Giants, Chunks knows this. Being a Giants fan, you play the Tampa Bay Bucks, you're just going to play as good as the Tampa Bay Bucks. You go out and play the Patriots, it works the other way. They go out and they play as good as the New England Patriots. But you just wish you would have a team that could be a little more even and get things done against the bad teams, but they always seem to play down to them. But,
that's one thing I definitely do agree with about the Giants. If there's one thing you can knock about the Giants and how they go about their games, they separate the importance of games almost, in my opinion. And you only play 16, so shouldn't all 16 be important, And I agree. You do see that a lot with the Giants when they play, is the fact that, like last year you saw it when they played Buffalo. They barely escaped with a win. When they played Miami, they barely escaped with a win. They're way better than either one of those teams, especially last year. They were way better than both of those teams. And you're like, what are you doing? And but then you get to the end of the year and you play 2 teams fighting for playoff spots and you crank it up because you know that if you win those games, you get to keep playing. And that's, it's a mental toughness thing.
And listen, my last point about last night's game, the Bears, their defense is kind of built to beat the Packers, and the Packers usually throw the ball around the yard. I thought they did a really good job of mixing up their game plan last night, using Cedric Benson a little bit more. I thought they did a good job with that last night.
You know what they did? They fed the ball to Benson, and they needed to. Even though, I mean, he only had 81 yards, but that's still 4 yards a clip. And honestly, what else can you ask for from your running back for 4 yards a clip? That means you give it to him 3 times, you get you a first down every three carries. And I'm sorry, but you're not going to complain about that. But I do agree with you. I think it was good to see them feed Benson the ball a little bit more. They still need to work on their run game a little bit. They got to be able to break out a big run play every now and then. I mean, it's that simple. That's one of the things that kills the Packers' run game is they can't. At least from what I've seen in the past 2 games, they're really not breaking the big plays you saw them do last year. But Fife, don't forget to get us your game picks. I don't know if you want to do it on the phone or if you want to post it on the fan page. I have your last week's written down already, though, so not sure how you want to do that.
First week.
Say again?
Had a pretty bad first week, but I'll probably just give Eric my picks unless if there's time later.
No, yeah, give us a call back in a little while and put them in.
We're gonna probably start game picks at quarter 2.
Okay, sounds good. Thanks a lot, guys, for listening to me for a little while.
No problem, Fife. Thanks for calling in, bud.
Have a good one.
You too.
Later, man.
All right, so that was Fife calling in. I think he made a really good point about the Cutler leadership abilities. He looked like a clown yesterday, the way he was screaming at. Like he said, you go scream at your O-lineman, but Brandon Marshall drops what should have been a touchdown catch and would have made it a game.
Listen, I would scream at my offensive lineman, too, if I got hit as many times as he did. I don't blame him. Honestly, that's the way
I don't blame him for screaming, but there's no reason to shove the guy. None. It's not going to be. I've never in my life watched a quarterback shove his offensive lineman. I've seen coaches do it. I've seen coaches grab guys by their face masks and yank them right down to their level, but I've never seen a quarterback shove his offensive line. Never. Not once have I've never seen Brady. I've never seen Manning. I've never seen a Rodgers. I've never seen the other Manning. I've never seen Drew Brees. I've never seen. Go back to Troy Aikman, Joe Montana, Steve Young. I don't care who you name. I've never seen a great quarterback do that. Never. And I don't care what, I get you getting beat up. I get it. And that would piss the hell out of me, too. And you have every right as the leader of that team to scream and rip your offensive line a new one. No reason to shove them. Because then you just look like you're fucking...
You don't know what was said between the two. Yeah, Cutler's yelling, but you don't know what the offensive lineman said back to him. So you can't really get on him because you weren't there in the heat of the battle. It's the heat of the battle. Things happen. Things are said. It's what happens. I mean, I've been face-to-face screaming with Fife before. It's happened.
Yeah, but screaming's fine.
But pushing and shoving and getting a little physical. We've been standing there before in that position. You don't know what was said in the heat of the battle. So you can't judge them unless you know. Unless the offensive lineman comes out and says, I didn't say anything. I was just standing there quiet, and he pushed me for no reason. You don't know what that offensive lineman said to fire Cutler up even more to the point where he would push.
The only thing I did
again, it's a push. It's not like he tackled him to the ground and started punching him in the head.
Took his helmet off, started beating him with it. I will say I did see the offensive lineman start laughing after Cutler pushed him, probably for the fact that he's like, dude, you don't move me. But anyway.
And the thing is Fife, you can't yell at Marshall because Marshall's one of those guys that you got to keep happy.
Oh yeah, he's like he'll
the offensive linemen, they'll get over the nonsense with Cutler if they have another game like they had last week against Indy. Everything will be forgotten. But Marshall's the type of guy where once you start making him unhappy, he'll be lost for weeks.
Yeah.
So I understand why he took a different approach with Marshall than he did his own line.
That I got to completely agree with.